This is the Metal Queens podcast. I'm Steve Richards. On this episode of the MQP, it is Gina Fritz from New Haven, Connecticut, who is continuing her journey as the frontwoman for various metal projects, including her current role as the vocalist of Keyed Up. The songstress, I like that, songstress, is adding another dimension to her universe, a solo career, opening for bands such as The World Alive and Crown the Empire, as well as hitting the road last year on a full East Coast run with Escape the Fate. She had a single come out in February, Chemicals. We'll talk about that in a moment. And a new single is out now, Disassociate. Well, first, Gina, welcome to the MQP.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me.
So let's start with this. How did you get into music, and how important was music in your life growing up in Connecticut?
So, growing up, I mean, going back to when I was really, really young, my parents always kind of set it into me like we were listening to Blue Oyster Cult,
Mm.
Pink Floyd, Def Leppard. Like that was what my parents were listening to. So, when I was younger, I kind of always was just like singing, like dancing around the house. Once I got to high school, I kind of like let it go for a minute because in high school, you would try out for the plays and I wasn't getting any of the parts. So I was like, you know what? I'll just pick a different route in life. This is clearly not for me. But I ended up when I was 21 going to some karaoke bars and I was just like kind of up there singing karaoke and I would have people come over to me all the time being like, you should audition for The Voice. You should audition for American Idol, which I ended up auditioning for The Voice. It was like a long, long time ago now. I think I was like 23, 24. And I didn't make it through. It's okay. After that, I ended up in a couple of bands. And I ended up through those bands meeting Whitney Payton, who I am now in Keyed Up with. And I ended up pursuing a solo career, just under myself as Gina Fritz. And I have amazing guys who back me every night. So I got very lucky.
What was that experience auditioning for The Voice like?
It was so crazy because there were so many people. It was at the Javits Center
Mm.
in New York
Mm.
and like the convention center area. And it was so crazy. There were like a bunch of different groups and they put you in like a specific group. And I just remember like there being judges, not the judges that you see on the show. It was like a different, like, production and director, like different set of people that you have to go through like preliminary rounds before you actually hit the one where they turn the chairs. And I remember just like going up, them being like, hello, how old are you? What's your name? You're going to sing 15 seconds of a song and then we're going to stop you.
Mhm.
So it was really interesting. I ended up meeting like a bunch of people and everybody in my group was really nice. But yeah, I ended up not making it on the show. Not a big deal. It was a really, really cool experience.
Mm. How would you describe your solo sound now to someone who's never heard of you before?
So I always say to people first listening to me, if you like Hailstorm, Flyleaf, Paramore, you probably will like my music. It's more towards the rock side, but there's definitely some pop elements in there. I listen to a lot of The Weeknd. I listen to Doja Cat. So I try to throw those aspects into it. But on the other spectrum, I listen to Pierce the Veil, Bring Me the Horizon, like the
Mm.
more heavier stuff. So I try to mix the two or blend the two together.
Yeah, Connecticut's always been a great rock state, great history of rock radio stations too, in
Oh yeah.
Hartford and New Haven. So Danbury, a lot of great rock and roll in your state. Of course, Toad's Place in your backyard, the legendary club.
Iconic
Yeah.
venue.
So you released Chemicals back in February. What's the story behind that song?
So obviously I've had a very trying journey in music and I wrote this song about just trying to reach that next level. I feel like any artist can sometimes feel at a point where they're just stagnant and they're not reaching that certain level that they want to get to. and it messes with your head a little bit, and you kind of overthink a lot, and compare yourself. You start comparing yourself to other people, especially with social media being so prevalent right now.
Yeah.
So when I was writing Chemicals, I definitely was not in the best headspace, but it definitely helped me tell the story of where I'm feeling in my brain, in that time.
Let's talk about social media. Before this interview, I was checking you out on Instagram and you were getting some feedback on this new single, which I'm going to ask you about,
Yeah,
Disassociate. What is it like, the instant feedback you get now?
it's crazy. I mean, it's one of those things where, like, I never expect instant feedback. I post
Yeah.
something and I'm like, you know, let it sit there. Let's see what happens. And also, it's like this whole thing of like timing of when to post. Should I post in the morning? Should I
Yeah.
post at night? Which was something that I think about sometimes often. But now I'm just like, you know what? I'm just going to post it, see what happens, throw it to the wall,
Mm.
see if people like it. And I got really good feedback when I first posted it. I just posted like the first verse of it, and people are like, release it right now, release it. So I'm like, it's coming.
What's that song about?
Honestly, I kind of wrote that song in tandem with Chemicals. I feel like, with the EP that I'm coming out with, it talks about a lot, of my inner feelings, of how I feel about where I'm at in my personal life, where I feel like I'm at in my head. Um, Disassociate is very much an out of body. I sometimes feel like I'm out of body with the rest of the world, if that makes sense. Um, I sometimes feel like I'm just not getting where I want to be. I see all these people, especially people that I'm friends with, getting married and having kids and kind of living this, so to speak, normal life of their 9 to 5. And I am trying to achieve something that a lot of people see as abstract.
Mm.
So I feel almost disassociated with that part of reality because I'm trying for something so different.
So a new EP is coming for you. What's your goal for the rest of the year?
I really hope to get on more tours. I hope to travel to the West Coast. That's always been a huge goal of mine. I would love to get over to the UK. But I guess, like, as a small goal, just keep playing like festivals, get further and further out to the West Coast, maybe even for further down to like Florida would be awesome.
Mm. Gina, in your bio, the first sentence, standing up for yourself in the face of uncertainty, reclaiming your voice in an industry that's predominantly led by men. The Metal Queens podcast, a forum for women. We only feature, female-fronted artists and bands. Can
Hell
you
yeah.
think of times when your music or your credibility as a musician was discounted due to being a woman?
There have been multiple occasions, and I say this story often, where I'll sometimes go into venues and people will look at me and they'll say, oh, by the way, you're setting up merch over this way, you
Mm.
must be the merch girl. Like, it happens so often, and I'm like, no, I'm actually the vocalist, my name is Gina Fritz. And they're like, oh my god, we're so sorry. And it's frustrating after a while. And you know as hard as you try, you sometimes feel like you're not right there yet, where people are going to be like, oh, you're Gina Fritz. Sometimes it does happen. I think the purple hair helps. But there are a lot of times where, even when we're setting up gear, people will automatically go to the guys in my band, which is great because they absolutely know probably way more of what they're doing than I do half the time. But it is a little frustrating, where it's like, why can't you come over and talk to me? Like, I'm the head of this band. I
Yeah.
I am Gina Fritz. Come over and talk to me. But it does always feel like sometimes the girls get shoved back a little bit, and we have to fight that much harder to get to the forefront.
Yeah. Is it getting better, you think?
It is getting better. I feel like the more I post of myself on social media, the more I put myself out there, the more people are recognizing me for myself and for my music. And I don't get it as much at venues anymore, which is nice.
And she's all over social. I'll give this out before we wrap up. Gina Fritz, CT, CT for Connecticut.
That's right.
.com is the website, and Gina Fritz, CT on Instagram and all the social media platforms. All right, Gina Fritz, we like to wrap up with 5 questions for
Okay.
every artist that's on here on the Metal Queens podcast. Since we are, full disclosure, recording this on Cinco de Mayo, we'll start with this one. Favorite drink?
Margarita.
All right. And it's appropriate for today. Favorite curse word?
Ah, I can say it. Oh, that's right. We had this conversation beforehand. Fuck.
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 Favorite cover song?
That's so hard. I guess I would say All Around Me. Everybody likes my All Around Me cover on TikTok. So yeah. Flyleaf, All Around Me.
If you weren't in music, what would you be doing?
Oh, man. I mean, I'm at a restaurant now. I'm a server, but I feel like I would want to do something where like I'm helping people. I'm not sure quite what, but I would want it to be like creatively helping people, maybe like music therapy.
Favorite female vocalist of all time?
Oh, that's so hard. Why would you do that to me? Oh my God. Of all time, Lacey Sturm. Like I've listened to her since high school, like sophomore year on the bus in the back listening to I'm So Sick. So Lacey Sturm for sure.
All right. She's Gina Fritz from Connecticut. Gina Fritz, CT.com. And also on all the social media platforms, Gina Fritz, CT. New EP is coming. 2 singles out, Chemicals and Disassociate. They're out now.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it so much.
Thanks, Gina. Thanks for joining me here on the Metal Queens podcast. Hit the subscribe button, the like button, and thank you for watching. I'm Steve Richards.